Looks like we got some big news and a big update coming out of the Diddy trial. Let's get caught up on everything. Today we're going to be reacting to the Diddy defense, how Diddy could walk free and get the jury on his side as the trial begins. And in honor of the Diddy trial, I'll be drinking Ciroc. I'm pretty sure he owns Ciroc, right? Let me know in the comments if he does. I'm pretty sure he does. If not, I just bought that for no reason, and now I look like an idiot. Anyway, link to the original video down in the description below. If you like the commentary and reactions that we do here on this channel, consider subscribing. Love you guys. Let's get into it.
And get some legal analyst on to help break it all down for us on what is going to be happening not only on Friday, but we're more looking at opening statements on Monday and just how big this could be. So I want to bring in our next guest here, criminal defense attorney Keith Johnson, legal analyst as well. Thanks so much for being here, Keith. We appreciate it. And I mean, this is about of a high profile case as you can get.
Absolutely. This is a case that combines pop culture.
Is it though? I honestly think that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard one was pretty big, but it was a civil case, so it's not as like it was important, but not, you know. But I think this one, it feels like it's not really being talked about as much because there's so much going on in the world. But I also think people are just kind of frustrated with how the news and stuff like this news and media will cover it, but then nothing ever happens. So like, and what do you mean by this? Gato, what do you mean? Take the whole Epstein stuff, right? They covered it. They did all this. People went to jail. Epstein died. But then we never knew what happened. Who were these people that Epstein was working with? Who was on that list? So who was on his flight logs? Who were these celebrities, these well-known, powerful people that it never came to light, right? And I think that's why some of us, like even myself sometimes, the reason why I haven't been covering this religiously, really, is because I feel like that. I feel a little exhausted with coverage that doesn't actually lead to public information. Like, for example, it's the same situation. Even if Diddy goes to jail, it still doesn't kind of clear up all the people that were going and having fun. Like, take, for example, Twitch's Hassan Piker tweeted out that he would love just the leftovers of whatever happens at a Diddy party. And he's even mentioned going to a Diddy party. So, like, we want to find out, hey, were these people actually there? What did they actually do? So that's kind of the idea, right? I just wish there was an actual opening to the information to everybody. I don't know if that makes sense.
It combines law, it combines politics. So it's going to be a fascinating 2 months that we're going to see unfold in federal court in New York.
Does it involve politics though? Does it really?
A little bit about what the moment is going to be like, and tell us a little bit about how opening statements could go. My first question to you is, how will the prosecution really take what we all know of Diddy and what we've known about him in the past 35 years, entertainer, a rap mogul, entrepreneur, but how do they get away from that thinking for the jury and get them more into what they want to have Sean John look like? And that is a defendant, a criminal. That is how they want to picture them. So how do they paint Sean Combs like that?
Well, so the ironic part is that both sides are going to be trying to tell their own story about the events of the trial. The prosecution is going to try to walk a fine line. They don't want jurors to idolize him as the music mogul that he's been over the past 30 plus years. But they also are going to try to say that because of his wealth and his influence, that was the coercion that took away the consent for these adults to participate in these sexual acts. So they're going to try to use his celebrity status.
I don't honestly, like, I can see that. I honestly don't even know how they would find jurors. Because they gave Diddy the key to the city in New York. So it's like how do you find somebody that doesn't know about him and know about all this? And so like if you so let's say they find jurors that absolutely don't know about him, right? This is just my analysis here. I'm not a lawyer. So let's say they find somebody or jurors that absolutely don't know about him. Why? Like it just doesn't make any sense that these jurors or these prosecutors and these lawyers from either side would play into the mogul stuff if they truly don't know who this person is. If anything, I feel like jurors, if they don't know who the person is, they tend to side against famous people because it's like a class thing. I think that if that makes sense. So I don't know. I just feel like from the get go, even this bait, like what he's talking about, I honestly trust him more. Like obviously he's much more professional than I am. He knows more about this and stuff. But I just think like even from the beginning, it's really even hard to tell if that even makes sense because of the jurors. Like, how do you find jurors that are not going to be biased in some way, especially since it's Diddy?
Against them in a prejudicial way. And so essentially, it's going to be up to the defense to humanize Mr. Combs in a way that his celebrity status does not hinder him from having a defense like each and every person in this country is entitled to. So if I'm the defense attorney, I will ask the rhetorical question. If his name was Sean Johnson and not Sean Combs, would we be here today? Would we be here when you have adults, no one is alleged to be underage, who are involved in swinger parties and these sexual acts that the defense is going to say were totally consensual and are only being brought to light several years later for monetary gain. So it's going to be up to both sides.
I think the way he worded it, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's going to be a stretch though, because there's a lot of footage of him like having outbursts and like being manipulative. So, but that doesn't even include the whole Diddy stuff. Now, they supposedly have the actual tapes and stuff like this. So I can't wait till we see this in trial. We got to see some of that. There's just this is why, like I said in the beginning, I am excited for this trial, but also I'm expecting to be disappointed because we're probably not going to get anything meaningful from it in the same way we didn't get anything from the Epstein thing. If anything, I would want, if we don't get anything out of this, I think we should, as Americans, we need to start looking at the justice system very, looking at seeing what we could do to revise the justice system to allow the public to know who are these people that were helping him enact this type of violence towards people and crimes against people.
To try to frame this in a way that benefits their respective arguments.
And all it takes, I mean, they just have to poke some holes, and really, they just have to try to get one juror on their side when it's all said and done.
Yeah, so in order for there to be a verdict, it has to be unanimous, but you can have a hung jury on one person who is not totally convinced either way. And then the jury would be instructed to continue to talk about the case and deliberate. But ultimately, if they are deadlocked, one juror can hang up a jury. So if you are the defense, you want to make sure that you have people on the jury who are maybe a little skeptical of law enforcement, who may really hold the government to the standard of guilt.
It's Homeland Security, though. Like, it's one thing if it's the FBI. Okay. I think for my international audience, I think you guys need to understand something. So there's cops, there's like, FBI, ATF, there's very different branches of government. If you have the Homeland Security, meaning the security of the country, coming, knocking on your door and breaking down your door and seizing your stuff, you are fucked. FBI, maybe, you know, sometimes the FBI have gotten it wrong. Actually, no, there was actually a Supreme Court case, I believe, or is it a Supreme Court case? I don't actually remember which one, where FBI accidentally raided the wrong house. And so they're trying to sue them, but they can't because law enforcement tends to be protected from that. But all I'm saying is Homeland Security very rarely gets it wrong. They're pretty intense compared to the other agencies, to be honest. It's Secret Service and Homeland Security are probably the scariest ones. FBI pretty intense too. ATF is pretty I don't know, people have mixed feelings on them. DEA, if the DEA is coming after you, you're fucked. But I think Homeland Security and Secret Service are probably the most like you're fucked if they're coming to see you.
Beyond a reasonable doubt. And if you're the prosecution, you want jurors who are going to care about this case, not in a way where it's salacious, but look at Mr. Combs as a sexual deviant, and that may be a difficult proposition once you get into the facts of the case, the credibility of the witnesses. For example, if these were former lovers and former girlfriends of Mr. Combs, and he is making you engage in these acts, well, why are you staying around? Why didn't you go to the police? Why are you filing a lawsuit instead of going straight to the police station first? Why are you continuing to be in his shadow, which may have lifted up your career or your social circle when you're engaging in these coercive acts? And so that's going to be where the fight is waged, in my opinion.
No, and that's fair, but he's absolutely right. I think that's completely fair. That's one of the biggest criticisms with a lot of these, like, I myself believe 9 times out of 10, I'll believe the victims, right? They come forward. But there's always that, because of like the whole defamation thing that went on with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, makes you wonder, if you're that much of a victim, why are you still around and benefiting, right? And actually benefiting. Oftentimes victims don't actually benefit, but they stay around, right? But in this case, there's people who actually benefited from being around Diddy. Now, that being said, it doesn't explain the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. I don't know how you're going to defend that.
It's such a good insight there. And Keith, a lot of people also wanting to know just how the defense team is going to navigate once the video of the hallway video from the hotel with Cassie and really the abuse that was caught there on camera. How is the defense team really going to navigate that and talk to the jury about that video in question?
Well, you have to get the air out of the room with that video, meaning you have to own up to it. The fact that this was not a moment that he's proud of. It's a moment that he has issued a public apology about.
After getting caught.
Put that in the context of he's not here for a domestic violence charge against her at the hotel. He's here for being a sexual trafficker. And you have to also make the argument that she never reported this to the police. And she continued to engage in a relationship with this man for quite some time after this. And so those are actually things that are very important to put in context to the event. You have to own the event. You have to tell the jury that we're not here because you agree with him morally and how he has conducted himself at each and every stage of his life. We're here to determine whether he was committing these sexual violent acts that are that you're here to judge his actions by. And so you have to make sure that the jury is not looking at this as what would I have done in this situation, but they're looking at it, what is...
Man, he's bringing up some good points. Why didn't she go to the police? And this is kind of like, man, I'll never understand it. Right? Like, let's say he is guilty and he gets off, right? He's found innocent, right? But he is actually guilty. Who do you blame? At what point, who do you blame for that mistake? You can't blame the justice system because they tried him, right? Do you blame the people that didn't go to the police? Do you blame the people who stuck around? Like, you know, and I'm not saying like victim blame, but I'm saying is if he's truly guilty and if no one around him acts like he's guilty, he might actually get off. And that's kind of crazy. And then, but then again, it's like, this is what I don't understand about Hollywood and like even the music industry. There's evidence of people doing crime, but then none of the celebrities want to acknowledge it. Even though, like, then when it comes out that they actually are doing it after we have video evidence, they're like, oh my God, it's been an issue. We can stand up. It's like, y'all should have done that. Y'all have more influence together than separate. Like, just do it. I don't know. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating at this point. Like, we can't let anybody like these moguls continue their reigns over people like that.
And do these people have a motive to lie for whatever personal vendetta that they may have?
And is it also, would it be beneficial for Diddy and his team if the jurors, would it be more beneficial if they all saw the video ahead of time, like, you know, in the media reports that they described that they've seen it in? Would that be more beneficial for them to see it in their own way instead of it being like a shock if they haven't seen it?
Yeah. So the reality is most people probably have seen it, but as a defense attorney and a former prosecutor, I would assume that they have some knowledge of the video. And I do believe that the more times that you see the video, the less that of the shock value that you would have from seeing it. Once again, you have to prepare the jury for the video that they're about to see. And I think that the defense attorneys, who are just excellent attorneys, by the way, are going to set it up in their opening statement. I'm sure they've already set it up in their voir dire questions, which are the questions that they are asking to the jury in order to get a fair jury panel assembled. And so as many times as you can minimize and let the jury know the proper context that they should put the video in is really the most important strategy that the defense will have. And so if I'm a defense attorney, I'm going to say, that's the video that started this whole thing. And it was based in a money pursuit that was settled by my client without any wrongdoing. Why did she not go to the police? Why did she run to a lawyer and try to get millions of dollars? Why did she continue to have a relationship with this man if he was so abusive? And why hasn't he been charged with assaulting her in any way from that specific incident? That's the context that I believe the defense is going to have to present, because it's a bad video. There's no way around that. But if it's a bad video, you don't want to insult the intelligence of the jury by just glossing over it.
Yeah, that's so true. And also, I want to get your take on as a defense attorney, what are some of the things that you are looking at for the jury when you're looking at them, when you're talking about a specific case? Are you looking for facial reactions? Are you looking for eye contact? What are some of the big things that you really gear into to see, hey, maybe we have somebody?
You know what? This is what I'm thinking. All right, I'm going to make my prediction right now. If Diddy gets off not guilty, what I think is going to be the key factor to why, if he gets off not guilty, is if there's logs of money being exchanged that has nothing to do with lawsuits. So obviously he paid people and settlements and stuff like that and agreed to no wrongdoing or whatever. But if there's logs of him giving money to these people who are accusing him that are substantial amount of money, I think that is what's going to be the killer to the prosecutors, because if there's so, because again, I don't know if there is, but let's say these victims, right, were receiving large sums of money for doing what they were doing, or they were asking for large sums of money without going to the police. I think that the amount of money will dictate if he gets off not guilty. Because if you have a victim, right, a supposed victim, claiming that, oh, I was, this and this and this, but then there's logs of Diddy paying $1 million here, 2 million there, 500,000 here, sizable amount of money that is like crazy money, then I think a jury would be like, yo, I think this lady was just, or this person was just trying to just extort this guy, and he was given in. I think if he gets off easy, it's because there was payments or some kind that had nothing to do with lawsuits, and that were sizable amounts, noticeable amounts, life-changing amounts. That's what I think is gonna get him off. If he's found not guilty, because the thing is there's plenty of evidence of the things that he was doing. It's like, but it's like you gotta, if the context that matters.
On our side here.
You're definitely looking at eye contact. You're looking at, are they taking notes when you're talking versus when the prosecutor is talking? You're looking at how they are looking at your client. And so I always tell clients, you have to have a poker face. You have to remember that you're not just being judged by the man or the woman on the bench. You're being judged by the jury. They're looking at how you dress, your posture, your facial expressions, especially when certain items of evidence are coming in. What is Mr. Combs going to do when they show the video? Is he going to have any reaction to it? Is he going to shake his head? Those are all.
Man, if he shakes his head or he rolls his eyes or something, he's cooked. He's cooked. No matter what it is, he's cooked.
Things that jurors who are human are looking at. And in a case of this magnitude, there's going to be the star quality, the celebrity quality that's going on. And so you want to make sure that you never lose track of the fact that you are being watched each and every way, especially as the attorney, the way you interact with your client when you're passing notes or when you're whispering something to them. Those things are very important. And so a good defense attorney is going to try to touch his client on the back. He's going to shake his hand in front of the jury to humanize your client, to make sure that the jury understands the stakes. And the stakes in this case are life-changing. Mr. Combs could receive a life sentence for sex trafficking. He's already 55 years old. So this is a very important trial, and it's one where the defense has to humanize Mr. Combs if they have any shot of winning this case.
All right, we're taking our bets. How many people are betting that Jay-Z was the undercover, the person that ratted him out? Because there was some speculation online that these two, Diddy and Jay-Z, were like this. How is it that Jay-Z came unscathed? So how many? Hey, is Jay-Z the undercover? Was he wearing a wire? Is all I'm asking.
Yeah, those are such great points there. And I wonder too, lastly here, Keith, with the longer trial that it's expected to go, some 8 weeks, they're saying maybe even longer than that, depending on just how long some of the witnesses are on the stand. But I wonder, they usually say with longer trials, they worry that the jury might not be into it as much. But I feel like with this one, of course, you already have the celebrity impact here of this case, where you have Sean Combs as the defendant. But also, this case is so sexually charged. I mean, it seems like it is not going to be boring by any means.
Yeah, it is definitely not going to be a boring case because it's very salacious, as I stated. We're going to be talking about sex acts, recording.
And I think what makes it sounds weird, but what makes this exciting is, like, as Americans, we had like this idea this speculation, I guess, is the best word. Let me know in the comments if that's the best word. Is speculation that there existed this secret society of the elites, and they would do stuff that we would never know about, and a lot of that we would speculate is crime or some type of, yeah. I mean, I guess it's a crime, right? Because there was this movie with Tom Cruise called Third Eye. God, what was the movie? Uh, Eyes Wide Shut. Where, gosh, this movie came out in 1999. Jesus. So, but anyway, Eyes Wide Shut. Even Kanye West made an album on it. But there's people that say like stuff like that is very real. This secrecy, this conspiracy, this grand conspiracy, this secret society, this cabal of people participating in things that the general populace, like us, the people, everyday people, would not agree with. So I just think like it's gonna play into that. It's not superstition. It's not stereotype, but it's like Jesus Christ. Like, what is the word? There's a word that I'm trying to describe that it's like a guess. Y'all let me know in the comments down below. This is actually going to bother me the rest of the night.
Baby oil, just things that people don't discuss.
Baby oil
in social settings, especially in a courtroom. And so you have jurors who probably have never gone through this process at all. So you have to prepare the jury for what they're about to hear. You have to tell them that at the end of this trial, if I'm Mr. Combs' attorney, you may not like my client. You may think he's a sexual deviant. You may think that he needs God. You may think that he got a little bit too big for his britches. But you're not here to make a moral judgment on him. You're here to determine whether he committed these heinous offenses in violation of federal.
And there's a lot of like violence too in this. I think there's a large, actually I wouldn't say a large community, but a small subsection of people who, I guess, hold on, let me rephrase this. There's a large amount of people who believe Diddy was responsible for killing Tupac in some way. But there's an even smaller section that is like watching this trial for the sole reason to see if that finally truly comes to light. Because there's just so much there hasn't really been any real closure on that. And I think for some, like I'm not like a hardcore Tupac fan where I need this closure, but I do think that I think this is probably the closest opportunity we're ever gonna get towards closure in that specific thing, which would be kind of crazy if you think about it. Because how many years later that we find this out, and it's crazy too, because like there's so many like. So like I like listening to rumors and like I keep an open mind to things and like conspiracies and shit like that from you guys on the internet, and I watch videos that you guys recommend, but also like I keep my mind open to, like, for example, when we started covering the Diddy stuff, there's a large conspiracy or like a large group of people that really don't like Jay-Z. I used to really like him, but now I really don't, not because of them, but there was a large group of people that really don't like Jay-Z because of how he treated Beyonce over the years. And I don't know that. I'm not going to pretend like I know what they mean by that, but they're kind of like they had this suspicion that there's always something more going on with Jay-Z. And when he was first accused of the charges or the civil suit that ended up getting dropped, they were like, we told you there's something about him. We told you something about him. But I honestly think if he comes up in this trial, they're gonna get some type of answer they're looking for, I think. And you're probably saying, Gato, like you're giving they just hate Jay-Z because he cheated on Beyonce and they're just Beyonce fans. That could just be the case, and maybe I'm just giving them too much of the benefit of the doubt. That's fine, that's fair. But I don't know. Like they could actually be onto something because like this whole Diddy stuff, I didn't really keep track of and I didn't know about. So if they, you know, all I'm saying is even the smaller communities that are paying attention to this trial for different reasons might actually be onto something. And I'm not gonna pretend like I'm not gonna like leave it all off the table. Okay. If they're predicting something might happen, I'm gonna keep my mind open to it. That's all I'm saying.
Statute. And you have to really, really hone in on that because they are the jury's going to hear that he was a bully. They're going to hear that he was abusive. And so you have to make.
They're also gonna see it. That's the problem too. No, actually, it's not the problem. I mean, if he's guilty, I want him to go to jail. That's just the reality. But I really just want the list of people that he was associated with. Really, that's all I really want.
Make sure that you put context into what they are going to observe. But I think that the jury will be locked in. One last point is that they are selecting 6 alternates. That's a lot of
That's a lot.
extra jurors for a trial. So you're going to have them mixed in with the real jury in the event that someone has an emergency and you have to fill in a slot. And so they are admonished not to talk about the case with each other or with their family. But unless you are totally sequestered, it's just impossible. When people find out that you're on this jury, I'm sorry, the spouse is going to ask about it.
Especially if they prep you by having you watch evidence and stuff in like in a separate room, because it's some more intense shit, and they don't want to show the public yet. Like that's gonna be like, come on, man, come on. That's the issue. I mean, like I said in the very beginning of the video, I'm so skeptical about everything because of just the jury. I'm actually more expecting the trial to just be like pushed back or you know, just I don't know. I don't know what to expect really, I guess. I don't know.
Kids are going to say, Mom, you got on the jury. What was it like? What does he look like? Right. So how do you buffer that? And as an attorney, how do you figure out how to use that to your advantage? Because, you know, we have so much coming in with our phones and our social media and our email. How do you just stay locked in for 2 months on a very high profile case? That's going to be the fascinating part.
Yeah, it really, really will be. And doesn't it seem like because this is so high profile and because it just seems the temptation just to pick up your phone seems to be the hardest part probably for people to do, wouldn't it be easier?
There's gonna be so many people that are gonna want that are like, oh, I was a jury on the case, and then they're gonna get a book deal, and then their book is gonna end up being the show, and all this and all that. Like I can already see it. That's the problem too. Is there's too much money. Like these jurors can become rich off just doing this trial, which is really fucked up if you think about it.
To sequester them? I know it'd be very difficult on the jury themselves because they'd be away from their families, but how does that thinking go in and when is that even decided if it is sequestered?
Yeah, so a motion would be made prior to the trial and prior to the start of the evidence in the case. And so it doesn't look like it's going to go that way. I believe that the jury should be sequestered because everybody has an opinion on these kind of things, especially when you have someone who has the celebrity status of Mr. Combs. And so, you know, it appears that it will not be a sequestered jury, but that's really dangerous. That's really dangerous, especially when you have media that's going to be talking about it day in and day out.
And also, it's in New York. Come on now. I mean, it's New York, literally. But also, I think like I hate using the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard because it's civil. It's a civil court. But let's look at what was going on, right? With that. Amber Heard's lawyers were arguing that there was a social media campaign against Johnny Depp or against Amber Heard to make her look bad. But it was literally, if anything, the bots and the social media campaign was pro Amber Heard, because it was these random ass accounts supporting her that just came out of nowhere. And so it's like, I just think if you don't sequester them, people could use that excuse or take advantage of that as an opportunity. Whereas, like, I didn't think, like, it wasn't happening with Amber Heard, but I wouldn't be surprised if this happened with Diddy, because he has money and power, and social media is a new weapon. So I wouldn't be surprised.
which is what we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, it'll definitely be talked about, and boy, will there be stuff to talk about. It seems like each day will be new information starting on Monday there. But Keith Johnson, thanks so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. It was a great time to speak with you, get your insight. And I know this won't be the last time that we speak. I know we'll be speaking during this trial as well.
All right. Thank you for having me. Sounds good.
No problem. You take care. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
All right, everyone. So thanks again to Keith Johnson, their criminal defense attorney. Great to have his...
I'm glad they got a defense attorney perspective, because let's be honest, I really just want to see how they're going to play this, because there's so much footage of this man doing this horrible shit, and it's like, but is it? And it goes back to what this guy was saying. But is it the stuff that he's being accused of? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's gonna be crazy. Woo-wee. But I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets off. Like I said, I'm still keeping my prediction that if he gets off innocent, it's because there was a large amounts of money being exchanged that had nothing to do with the lawsuit. So hopefully that's not the case, but in criminal organizations, unfortunately, that tends to be the case. Let me know what you think in the comments down below about everything that I'm saying. What do you think is going to happen? We will be covering it live here on the channel. Love you guys. Check out the next one. Bye-bye. This video is brought to you, actually, by viewers like you. Thank you so much for subscribing and being part of my journey and allowing me to be a part of yours. Let's create new memories this 2025 on our road to 1 million subscribers. And with all that jazz out of the way, I just want to say thank you so much. I love y'all and enjoy the video.